Yeah, they and they wants it all. You look beautiful.
Thank you.
You
Thank
came
you.
ready to slay.
Thank you. Thank you.
You giving all face and B, and I love it.
Thank you so much.
Hi,
So
I'm
how are
Brandon
you?
Carter. I'm Brandon Carter. How you doing today?
I'm Tamara, T-Mara from Eight at the Table.
And just tell people a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is T-Mara from Eight at the Table, and pretty much it's a show that talk about love, sex, and relationship. And I'm one of the cast members, and they call me the godmother. And on the show, pretty much we hit every topic there is. My goal is trying to put out just positivity and hold women and men accountable for actions, pretty much. So I'm always, pointing out the fact where, sister, you're wrong, brother, you're wrong, So pretty much that's my goal. We're not just here. Pop, get out of here.
That just made me laugh. I dare
I'm
to
sorry about
aspire to
that.
be that man. I can't talk to people like that. I'm too.
Yeah, oh, you.
I'm a sucker.
You're a what?
I say I'm a sucker. I can't talk to people like that.
No, that's too much. He's doing too much. Too much. Too
Yeah.
much.
How do you feel about him? Because a lot of times I feel like a lot of relationships and gurus are really directed towards women, and even magazines and stuff is directed towards women and how to be better women and how to be better wives. And that's like a multi-million-dollar industry. There's really not a lot of focus on telling men how to be better husbands.
That's because I personally, from my opinion, hey, no judgment to anyone. From my opinion, I just always felt like it is an agenda, to be honest. And the best way, the focus is more towards, let's focus on the negative. Negativity usually, if you put out some drama into society, that's going to go off. People sometimes, and unfortunately, we're a set of people that pay attention more to the drama than positivity. So people are going to always drive towards the negative. But when it comes to the agenda of, I always try to target the conversation around the black men and the black women relationships because they are a target, whether we want to agree to it or not. And if you have foundation in it, why are we going to show that? We want to show so people are going to go for the negative faster than the positive. That's why.
Mm-hmm. And his thing is like he feels that he's being honest, telling women what they should hear as opposed to what they want to hear. And it can seem very cruel at times, but is it something women should hear?
Some of the stuff women do need to hear. But I think if you're going to give particular facts on a woman, come with your facts. Come with your proof. Like he has a thing where he talk about women's weight. And he talks about, the black women in the 50s and 20s, they were was much smaller than the woman now. And he's not paying attention to the amount of chemical that is in our food, the amount of different things that is happening to women from then to now, down to the perm that we put in our hair that causes us to have fibroids and all kind of internal issues that are happening with women. Not that it wasn't happening then. They had different agenda, but not everybody was walking around skinny and as the way he speak.
Yeah, that's a misconception, actually.
So I just feel like he's not giving the full information on women in the 20s, 40s, and 50s to women now.
Is he not women in their 20s or the 1920s?
No, in 1920.
First of all, it was a whole bunch of other stuff going on in 1920s.
Yeah, it's so many different stuff that were happening to women then and now. So I don't think and this is the outcome from those women to these women. So I don't think that he's realizing the internal damage that has been happening. He just have an opinion, and it's an opinion for himself, shock value. So I just feel like with women, we come a long way, and we don't need someone else to come in and tear us down. And if you're going to tear us down with information from your perspective, where's the information to uplift? How is that helping? So I have an issue there.
Do you think a guru directed towards men and how to be better men and how to be a better husband, do you think that is even a business that could thrive like how it would be, like how a relationship is directed towards women?
I think that it can strive if we focus on positivity, if we have discussions, if we realize that men are not able to tap into their own emotions. It's have now men are starting to speak up. People like Charlemagne, you know. So I think we got to deal with the issue with men and women before we focus on just the relationship. What's the internal issue? And I feel men are not able to express their emotion due to how they were raised and the environment that they came from. A lot of men, you know, they're told at the door from their little kids, don't cry. So imagine a young boy that's told not to show his emotion from he's a little kid. Suck it up. If he fall and bump his knee, he can't cry because it's not manly enough. So I think that we need to deal with the internal issue at hands where men are able to express their feelings more. Men are able to feel more acceptable in society. And then we could focus on the relationship. And this is going towards men and women, but we're speaking on men, where I'm saying we just have to deal with issue at hand first instead of just keep pointing the fingers and saying, you know, relationship gurus come out. What are the other things we're talking about? Why are we not talking about the fact that men are not able to express themselves? The fact that a lot of men use the pain that they go through, smoking weed, sleeping with different women, learn from their uncle members, the uncles and family members that are doing the same repeated behavior.
From the
So we
beginning of
have to
time.
speak on those issues.
And it's so crazy because a lot of times we think that the older generation had this much better view on women and relationships when they were really doing the same exact thing.
Yeah.
It was just packaged differently. And it's something
It's the
about
same
adults
thing.
too, that when you become an adult, it's this like, oh, we didn't do that kind of thing.
No, they did. You see, people, that's a bag of crap.
Yeah,
You know,
and
it's a bag
it's
of
very
crap.
misleading to the youth, and that's why the youth and older people always at it, because the youth has it. The older people have this thing like, oh, we didn't do stuff like that, and that's why I knew like, oh, well, then you can't relate to me because you're saying you didn't do
No,
stuff
we're
when you
learning
really
from
did.
our elders. We have to understand that learned behavior. If I see my auntie say niggas ain't shit, excuse my language, anyone, I'm sorry about that. But if we hearing that word consistently saying he ain't shit, man ain't shit, and your daughter comes saying it, auntie say it, cousin say it, it's learned behavior. So we can't just say the older generation had it together. No, they also was talking crap too. They also had their share of bullshit. We have to understand that we come from a generation of damage issue that's never been fixed as a
Right.
people. And all we're doing now, we're at 2021, and this is the man and the woman, and this is what we're doing. Your fault, your fault, your fault. No one is meeting in the middle and saying, let's hold each other accountable. Because both people are damaged. I don't think
And
you
this is
understand
also
that.
beyond color, black and white, but because we're black and we want to fix the black community first.
Yes,
That's
that's
what
my
we're speaking.
focus.
It's very important to know, like, white men treat their white women like shit too.
Yes, they do. And this is
Very,
an
very
internal.
badly.
Yeah, if we're going to speak on all issue, we need to look at the fact that there has been, you know, women were able to vote from the 1920s, and it was so many things that they weren't able to do. So to get to the level where we're at now and to meet each other face on, it is a battle. It's the
And I
male
believe it was
battling.
only like up until like the 1960s where a woman could even apply for her own credit card. Now the
Yeah,
1960s is not my. That means my grandmother couldn't have applied for a
that
credit
means
card.
my mom was born, what, 58? That's not far. My mom was in that generation
Right.
where women weren't even able to work at night. That, imagine that you couldn't even work when the sun go down. You have to. So if you're a nurse, you can't work at night because you're a woman. To me, that those type of things that women had to deal with is very hard, and I think that is very empowering to see women come this far. And I think it's a great thing. And I also feel like, you know, can we do better? We just need to work together and know how to work together.
Do you think it's possible for gender roles to be switched and to gender roles as we've been taught, you know, because it's all a made up concept, to be switched for households to work? Like if a man is not making as much, but the woman is making much, you know, more than him, he needs to be at home cooking. Do you think those things can work if possible?
Um, It's happening right now. You in the household, well, I can speak on the black household. The black household now, the woman is usually the one that has the most finance in the home. So usually she is the one that's play. It has changed for the past couple of years. If you want to say 20 years, in the
Mm-hmm.
past 20 years, it has changed because what has happened is the man is taken out the household where the woman is more focused on being the man and the woman. That's why the respect level is out the window when it comes to men and women now, because the women are taking on the role as men.
Right. What do
Mm-hmm.
you think has to change for?
What has to change is respect. There's no respect. The
Do you
women are
think
not
it can
respecting.
work if men and women are seen as equal, or is it only going to be able to work if men is the higher person?
No, it's all about respect. Because I've seen relationship where the woman is the breadwinner and she respect her husband and she uplift her husband. You would never know the difference. It's all about respect. But you again, we feel because we're so pushed to think that the one that make the most money is the boss in the household, where we're disrespecting our men. Some women, not all women, so we don't see them as the lead. No, it's a lot of women that are powerful that have their husband that don't have the same income as them, and they're making it work. So it can be worked. It's all about respect. Meeting somebody at the table and understanding my wife make more than me, understanding that this is where she's at. She's no better. She's uplifting her husband. So it can work.
Do you think that the male ego can handle that level of like, well, the woman is making more than me? Because the idea that men should be the breadwinner and that men should make more, that idea was created by the man.
Well, this is the thing. Do I want my man to be the breadwinner and make me feel protected? Because that is part of their makeup as a man, is to be, we're the nurturer and they're the protector. So you do want naturally as a woman to want a man that's the breadwinner. You do want those things. It doesn't have to be that way. It does not have to be that way. It does not have to be that way. He can still make less money and still lead the relationship, and it could be equal
Question
and
is,
feel like a man in the relationship. Because some
why
people
does
feel
who
like
makes more money determine who leads?
money doesn't determine that. It's about respect. It's about honoring and respecting your partner.
I think that concept has, we still need to learn how to unpack concepts that has been passed down to us repeatedly and repeatedly, and
Yes.
dismantle the idea. And that's probably the biggest problem, because we feel like traditional values is what we should hold on to, when traditional values were also broken, and it only worked because people were oppressed. So that's
Yeah,
the
but you have
reason
to. They
why.
got to go back and rewrite some of it. But the major part of it is respect. Once you have a partner and you know, like I've been in a marriage where I made more than my ex. I think I didn't care. I just loved him, and it didn't matter to me. I would give him my debit card and say, "Babe, we at a restaurant. My coworkers and friends don't have to know that I made more than my husband. They didn't
And
have to
that
know
happens a
that."
lot.
And a lot of women do this. A lot of women are not bold to speak on it. A lot of women are not bold to say, you know what, when I go out with my husband, I give him the debit card so, it could balance out. Because most time, we got to be honest, men don't put their own self in this position. The finance background of a man in this country, starting salary is at what, 45 to 50,000. That's where they're at. And on the job scale, if we think about it, if we're going to speak on it, on the job scale, when you compare men and women, in America, the white man is the top hired, then it's the woman, and then black woman is the second hired, and then it's Chinese, Spanish. The last to be hired is the black man. So in that situation, a lot of women is already dealing with that type of situation.
Yeah. It's definitely there. I've seen that with a lot of my friends, and they're comfortable with that. Like, it doesn't make them, like, saying what you go back to saying is the respect. Like, they respect their man enough to know, like, that's fine because he makes me happy. What
Mm-hmm.
turns is when the man is not secure in that, and then he starts taking that out on the
On
woman.
her, yeah,
Because
because
sometimes
that's his
a man has
ego
to have his
and that's his
own.
personal issue that he has to deal with. But I think that we as women have to pay attention to what society has done to our men by pulling them out the household, by um we have to understand that part, that the equal in the workforce is not equal when it comes to our men. So we have to sometimes be with men that are making less than us. It's about 1% of men that make six figure. It's not everybody that makes six figure. So we have to be realistic. We just got to get out this whole music that's telling us how to think, get out this whole foolish mentality that's telling us how to think, and focus on what's really happening.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the so we can move on for the money, because we understand, like, that's a big factor, and long as two
Mm-hmm.
people are mature about it, it's not going to come. But that also comes from
Respect
oppression,
and
because
understand. Yes.
yeah, and it's important to be honest. Do you think, or can we move on to like sex?
Okay, we can talk about whatever you want to talk about.
How do you think people can it what do you do when you don't have sexual chemistry with a partner, but they treat you nice and the relationship is good? How do you can that be fixed?
Sometimes it doesn't happen right away. It depends on the individual. Sometimes you have people that are just looking for impulse emotions out of somebody, and sometimes it takes time. You literally just have to take the time to get to know somebody. If it's no chemistry, for me, now I'm going to speak for myself because I just gave you the generic answer. For me, for me, when there's no chemistry, it's just crazy. It's hard. It's very hard. You go in the friend zone department. I'm sorry. Hey, listen, I'm sure that men do it to women, women do it, because if it's no chemistry, I'm going to try 3 times, 4 times. How many times I'm going to try? So, I got to be realistic. Like, if I'm going to, all right, we go on our first date, it's no chemistry. Second date, it's no chemistry. Third date, well, you're a homeboy. It's hard.
So,
but you might grow later on in life. Who knows? But you go in the friends box.
Do you think sexual chemistry is instant or that can be built?
It depends. It depends because you could meet somebody. That's I said. You could meet somebody and the sexual chemistry, the way he talked, the way he sound, the way he calls your name, and it's instant. And then you could meet somebody and don't have no sexual chemistry, but then later on gain it from them. So it depends. It depends on the individual, but sexual chemistry can come intensely the moment you meet someone. It's not impossible. I've experienced it, so I get it.
But you can also have great sexual chemistry with someone who is so toxic for you.
Yeah, like my ex that I married. Uh-huh. We all listen. I think
how long did you deal with that?
I think this is the thing. It's called, excuse my language. I say it on my platform at time to time. It's a thing called Dignitas. You could meet somebody that got some good stuff and they ain't shit, but you're like, God damn, the good stuff outweigh they ain't shit till after a while. You're like, damn, he ain't shit. So it depends. It depends on the situation. For me, can you get caught up in that type of stuff? Yes. And is it easy to get caught up in that type of stuff? Yeah. The only thing I would say is to catch yourself. We're allowed to get dignitized once or twice in our life, not our whole life now. Come on. So you got to catch yourself. So what I've learned, I had the experience. I've learned that, the moment I see a man that's giving me that energy and I know that he's toxic, but the sex seemed like it would be wonderful, I'm mature enough now to say good night, goodbye, and that's it. The devil is a liar. Have a good day. I go drink some cold water and hang up that phone.
Man, I'm trying to be serious.
No, you can listen. I'm just saying.
Okay.
I just don't. Like I said, if it depends on the stage of where you are in your life. I feel like if you're in your 20s, you should experience those roller coasters. Not that you want toxic, but you should experience certain things to mature you to make better decisions in your life. And I felt like I've made some decisions with my past where, I've met someone where the sexual chemistry was it, but the toxicity that was coming out, that was oozing off that person, and I didn't care. But as you get mature and you have children in life, your life is involved, you got to be smart. Got to be smart.
How important do you think it is for young women to date? And can you examine, because most people don't know, what does it mean to date? Is that only one person at a time? Is it okay to date multiple people?
I am all right.
Well, this doesn't mean sex. This just means literally like, dating. Like
date. To me, date and sex is two different things. I do believe that if you're dating, dating is, I call it collecting data. You're collecting data by learning different.
You call it what?
Collecting data.
Collecting data.
Yes, that's what I call it. I call it collecting data. So I date multiple people. I'm not sleeping with not one of them. So what I do is I go on date. I see if your energy, if there's a chemistry, you put it in your collecting data log and you say, okay, Michael seems cool. And you try to tally up who makes more sense in that data that deserve your time. But I think dating is something that you're supposed to experience, whether you're younger or older. If you're single, you're supposed to dip and see what's what you like. Just like how you go to the supermarket or you go to a chocolate store, you're going to try the chocolate that's made with raspberry. You're going to try the chocolate that's made with wine to see which one you're going to purchase. Now, are you going to eat the whole goddamn chocolate and walk out the store? You're trying to see which one makes sense. So it's the same thing. So whenever I date, I'm just trying to jog down information from my database to see if it makes sense. So when you're young or older, you should take the chance and date. You don't necessarily have to have sex. You do not have to have sex. Now, it's up to that individual, no judgment. But, sex for women, it comes with emotion. So, as some women, not all women, because I can't speak for every woman, but some women, when we have sex, it comes with emotion. So can we go around and date several men and just be fucking? No, we can't. But to the ones that move like me, we just collecting data and trying to see if you fit our time. The way I look at life, my time is precious. My life is precious. I don't waste my time with anyone. When I was in my 20s and my 30s, that was fun to play around. But when you're a grown woman over 35, you can't be playing because your time, I keep telling women that we have gray areas. We got to focus on our gray areas, especially if you don't have children and you want children. It don't make sense wasting time, So collect your data, see what makes sense, and you keep it pushing.
But what does a woman do if she's in that time where she like, I want to settle down. I do want to have kids now, and she just can't find that right man. What would you suggest for her?
My suggestion is have faith, be optimistic. Don't just, jog down, look at your list. Because a lot of time when we get to a certain age where we want to settle down and have kids, the same list that you have, and standard list I'm talking about, the same standard list that you had in your 20s, it changed as you get older. The tall, dark, and handsome, and gotta have money, and gotta this and gotta that. That list wasn't realistic. So we have to sometimes change up our standards on the list to see if it fit where we're at in life, the stage where we're at. You want children. You want to make sure this man is not out here just drinking up a storm. You want to check his background. You want to make sure he's not just anybody that you're having a child with. So our standards change. So to those women that are looking to date and want to have children, be optimistic. Be open to that you're gonna come across some bullshit, but just don't give up. Don't give up. Know that just like you have a purpose, somebody has a purpose for you to be their wife. So be optimistic, be open to what's going to come to you, and just have faith and put out what you want. You can't be out here saying you want to be a wife and you ain't shit. Let's keep it real. And you can't be out here saying, I want to be a wife and I want this and I want that. And you putting out horrible energy in the universe. So you have to be careful what you put out and what you request in your life. That's what I'm saying.
In your own personal experience, have you had a good guy get away, but because you wasn't at that time the correct woman for him? Did you?
Yeah, I
Have you
did.
experienced that?
I did. I was engaged when I was younger. I was engaged, and when I look at his situation now, and who knows, maybe that it just wasn't for me, but I think I had a good guy that got away, and I was, I left him for my son's father, and he was a good guy. He really was, and I
But
didn't
you just
know.
wasn't in love with him?
No, I didn't have the love that he had for me. I didn't realize till after the fact that how much he loved me. And I just was like, wow, he really did. This man was doing so much for me and my family. Like, he came and tiled my mother's floor. He just was always good to me. And I just didn't see that. I just, when you're young and dumb, you're not seeing all the good things somebody do for you. So I think I would say, yeah, I had somebody that got away.
And what would you say, what was your part in that? Just not recognizing it?
Just not recognizing it, being young, thinking that the good looking guy like my son's father was a pretty boy and he just had the swag. Again, this is the young mindset that we sometimes have. He had the swag and I just was like, oh, he fine. And this one was just nerdy and just, he wasn't it. That's how I told myself. Now this man is an engineer for transit. He's one of the executive for Yeah, he's an executive for transit, New York City Transit. Like, he is huge right now.
Please tell me he marry a white woman.
I know.
Please tell me some other sister guy.
He's not married, actually, but he does text me a lot from time to time. He's not married and he doesn't have children at the moment. He wants children. So that's why every time we speak, I'm like, yeah, he never had kids. And I don't want no more kids. But, I'm sure somebody beautiful out there for him that want to give him kids. And when they divorce, then I'll come back in.
For the second go around. I seen someone put in here, good guys finish last. Why do you think that has always been like a concept? Like, why do women love the bad boy?
Because women are always I'm sorry. Women are always looking for what society told them, what our mind tell us, if he's fly, if he's this, if he's that. We're always looking for he got to be fly. He got to be all of these things we're looking for at first. And when it comes to the good guy, sometimes he ain't it. That swag ain't up. I'm being honest. Sometimes the good guy swag is just not up. And Michael come around with the swag and the smell and the look, and you're like, yes. And then good guy, he just, straight corny sometimes. And sometimes we find that out later on, we find that out later on that the good guy is there.
It's just when you're younger, the bad guy he does seem so much cooler.
He seems much cooler. It's when you're aware of everything with self, you realize how much.
And he also comes off as it's just also cooler, but he also comes off as funner when you're younger too.
Yes. When you're younger, you want to have fun. The good guy's always talking about work and bullshit you don't want to hear. And it's good. The good guy, he's
the
like
positive stuff in life.
Yeah, the good guy's like, what you doing? Come over, let me bust that ass. You want to hear that type of talk? He ain't talking.
Let's go
like
commit
that.
crimes together. Like, oh yeah, I want to go commit this crime. Sure.
It's just unfortunate that you don't realize it. Some women don't realize it until we're older. That's all it is.
How do you feel about women who don't want to have children? Do you think you are less like when, or do you think women you're sent here to have children?
It's just a makeup. Some women that get to that level is because, it's a choice. It's a personal choice. But 9 times out of 10, most women, if you was to do it on a percentage, most women want to have children. Want to. It's just something about us that comes in us that gives us that feeling that we want to procreate. So, and it's just a natural thing. Huh?
I said a man do too, because they be having a lot too. They just don't be wanting
to say it. We all go through the same thing as humans. Yeah, we all go through the same thing as human. I feel like, I had a topic recently on my live, and I was just telling women that are in their 20s to their 30s. I do believe that women should have their children in their 20s. A lot of women like, no, you got to get your career. You could be broke or rich having a child. It doesn't change. If it's going to be here, it's going to be here. So I just feel like if you're in your 20s, and you want multiple children, 20s to 30s, I think that's the best time to do it. Some women feel like it's 35. No, because I feel like, like my kid, I had him at 19? My son is a grown man right now. And my son, I feel good. Like I feel free. I got 1 kid. I wish I had at least 5 kids at 25. I wish like my mama. Really? My mama had 8 kids by the age of 28. I wish I did the same thing.
Back in the day, baby, they was...
Yeah, but I wish I did that. My mother is living the fruits of her labor more than anything. Like my mom has been free for how many years now, and she's just a great inspiration to all of us. And we push her to be her greatest self. And I feel like her having 8 children so young, it taught me how to even be a better mother. It taught me how to focus on having children early than having them late, because now my mother is 60 years old and my mom looks freaking good and she's happy in her spirit and she's not beat up and stressed out. She was free by the time she was 40. Free. A baby, you know what I mean? She had grown kids around her. So that's my only reason why I always tell women to have them early than late.
And you say you're West Indian, correct?
Yes, I am Jamaican background. Jamaican and Panamanian. But born in Jamaica.
What is it like? What is that lineage like being in that family? Because we know about the Black American family, but what is that like?
Well, being in a Jamaican family, it's tough. It's way tough. Being compared to being in America and being in Jamaica, right?
Right.
I would say the expectation of your child is way harder because the parents are whipping your ass for real, for real.
I'm so against whoopings.
Well, listen, some kids need it, so I ain't against it. But the parents,
I'm so against it.
I'm not abusively, no.
I know. I just don't like the idea of having to hit someone in order for them to behave.
Sometimes you gotta bust their ass. You got some kids that are born out the door that don't listen.
You absolutely right, because I got nieces and nephews and I got a lot of friends with teenagers and some I like to give my unsolicited no kid advice to them, and I always say no whooping, but I definitely be like
slap shit out of them. Two little pop in the ass ain't gonna hurt, but Coming from a Jamaican background, I would say my mom is one of my biggest inspiration in life. It doesn't matter what I do, whether I become, 5 people in the world know me or a billion. I will always say my mother. My mother is who made me who I am. She taught me to understand that life ain't got to be perfect for you to be perfect, and your situation don't have to be perfect for you to live great and happy. She taught me to be humble with $2. $2. I will walk around here like I am rich than a motherfucker with $1 in my pocket. She taught me that, work for what you want, put out the greatness in the universe, and it will come back to you. And she reminds me of this to this day. There's never a morning pass that I don't get a text from my mother where my mother is holding me accountable. Sometime when I speak to her, I feel like I'm 5 because I'm like, okay, I get it. So as a Jamaican mom, raising me, she, coming from a Jamaican background, you have to excel and you have to do great. And imagine coming out of a household with 8 brothers and sisters. She don't care if one got a degree. She want to hear all of us got a degree. She want to hear all of us got a great job. So you have to be competing to do better at all time, your whole life. And my mama got triplets and twins, and I'm one of her twins. So,
Triplets and twins?
Yeah. So my twin sister is going to a high school getting all A's, and I got to be stepping up. And if we, so it's just everything is looked at as you have to put out the best, because we're first generation in this country. So now that we have our children, they're the second generation. So we had to be the example for my second generation. All our siblings are American. So they needed to see the first generation come and set it up for them.
You always hear those stories about like first generation people. You don't realize like how current what it means to be first generation.
It's very important.
What was that like? Like, you know what I'm saying?
It was rough.
How old were you when you came to America?
I came here when I was 9 years old or 10. And I remember sitting in the classroom and I'm watching all the kids speak to the teacher so rude. And I couldn't understand. I couldn't adjust. Huh?
I said, that sounds like America.
Yeah, I couldn't adjust. I went to a junior high school called 271.
Oh, and especially junior high school too.
Huh?
I said, especially junior high school.
Yeah, I remember going to junior high school when I first, because I went to like what's the school before junior high? I never remember that.
Elementary or
elementary school, yeah. Elementary school for 1 year, then junior high. Went straight into junior high, and I remember the kids being so disrespectful, talking over the teacher, and I'm sitting there, and I used to have bad anxiety. I don't even know how I'm able to speak to people now and public speaking, because I used my heart used to beat crazy, and I could not focus. So I remember wanting to raise and that only started because I raised my hand one day, and I knew the work that they were giving us was easy. Like the work that the children have in America and the work that the children have in Jamaica, 2 different ball games. Like the 6th grade person is on 12th grade level. You get what I'm saying? So the work that we were getting in the classroom was nothing to me. So I was like trying to raise my hand, but then the accent came out and they were like, coconut.
What that mean?
That I'm West End. I'm from the coconut, So they were like, oh no, the coconut is talking. And I'm like, what? And I just had anxiety from then. I was scared to talk. I was scared to share the fact that I knew the work in the classroom, so I wouldn't raise my hand. So it took a lot being the first generation, dealing with that type of anxiety, dealing with not wanting to talk so people could hear my accent, dealing with certain words we had to learn how to write, because you guys write certain words and spell certain words different. And, we speak, the way how we speak English is from the Queen, England. In English, when we write.
The Queen's English?
Yes, the Queen English. So when we write like them, because England is a part of Jamaica. It still owns Jamaica, matter of fact. So when we speak, it's proper. They have a thing called, because we do patois, yes, but when we do our schoolwork, it's proper English.
Wow. Okay.
You understand? So when we come here to do work now, it's like, wait, that don't match. So the grammar had to change. The way we write our wording had to change. So it was a lot. So being the first generation, it was proving that we could be great, proving that we're going to go get our education, proving that we're going to finish out. My mom came here like a bull and did what she had to do immediately. And when we saw my mom did it, we had to do it. So now her 8 children, you know, and she's proud. Like, she's very humble. She don't tell people sometimes she got 8 kids and all her 8 kids are educated and all her 8 kids are well. And she don't, her and my dad, because I just can't speak on just her and my dad.
Mhm.
Both my parents pushed us to be great, and they're living the fruits of their labor now. So being a first generation, it was tough, but now that our children are young adults, they're seeing it. They're seeing how hard we work. So we don't give them no break. There's no break. We let them know we came here and did what we had to do. And I get it. You guys are American, but you have example in front of y'all. So we set it up where they're able to get hired from us, to take the blueprint from us and get their life together. That's how we
That
do it.
is an amazing story, and I'm so glad that you shared that with us. That's very important for people to hear and for people to know, because
Mhm.
it was a whole bunch I just learned. That was like literally a history lesson for me. So I low key really high key appreciate that.
Yeah.
Um, if we're gonna switch gears a little bit to like current hot topics, if we can talk
Okay.
about the Little Nas X situation.
Oh Lord.
Did you see the video?
I watched probably 2 seconds. I don't want to corrupt my mind.
What do you mean? Okay, how, how can I watched it. How do you feel about the whole
How I
thing?
feel about it is that he's being used.
He's being used.
I feel like he's being used to make he doesn't even realize it. Because some people are like, oh, it's because he's gay. No, don't put no gays on that. Because I got gay friends. My best friend is gay. So I don't want nobody, putting gay people on that level. And it's sad that he's being used in that area. Because now the Christians and whomever are like, oh, all gay people are devil worshiper. And I feel that that's
Well,
terrible.
but the Christians thought that
Well, whatever. They can think whatever they want. But my
yeah,
thing is that it's being put negatively towards gay people. And I don't like that.
yeah.
And
But
I think that he's a tool and he doesn't realize it.
what I thought, the video was going to be kind of completely different compared to like how people like reacted. So to me, compared to what the videos I used to watch when I was a little kid, like, you know what I'm saying, I mean, when I was little, rappers was sliding credit cards down women's asses. So somebody giving a fictional character a lap dance on a green screen was not really that shocking to me.
Well, how I look at it, those video too was terrible.
No, they were, but I'm saying that's why I'm like, this was like light. And also, it's too many. It's literally devils in like cartoons, little kids dressed up as devils. Halloween. Lucifer is one of the hottest shows on Netflix. So this idea that like people just are so relinquished from the concept of what
I think
the
it's
devil
because
is crazy to me.
people small children, really like him. My sister, that's a pastor, her daughter has his T-shirt.
Right, and it's the
Did she throw
packaging
bleach on that
because
shit this weekend? Yes, she did, folks.
He
You
he
know.
did he did, but he did say Old Town Road was about committing adultery and sipping lean.
But I think
So
that,
it's the packaging.
I think it's the packaging of how he did this. Because Old Time
Mhm.
Road, a lot of children danced to it on TikTok. A lot of
Right,
people
they
weren't paying
loved it.
attention to the words. He has to understand that people pay attention to visual. Visual is
Yes,
something, it's
and
not just your words, it's what I'm seeing with my eyes. And it's impressionable on children. So I just, and like I said, he's a tool. He's a tool, and I don't think he realized that.
he's young. He a
Yeah.
kid
Yeah.
himself.
I think that he needs to realize that he was blessed in even becoming who he is, being where he is. Because I remember he was just making TikTok videos and doing little video. And I think that he's going to realize later that, he's being taken advantage
Well,
of.
absolutely. We should hope so, because with time comes maturity and growth. I mean, do you think we can even have positive gay representation
Of course, there's
without
a lot of them out here.
what I mean is without heterosexual males feeling like that's threatening to the
No,
idea
it's
of what
that
male
type of
is.
that type of that type of thought process is that type of male that think that way has something to deal with his own self. Because I have worked around people that are that are gay, and they hang out with my regular straight friends. It's about you knowing who you are and accepting people for who they are. Just like how they could accept you, you got to accept them. So I don't point the finger at anyone that, you know, that are gay and feel like they can't be who they are. It's people that feel insecure within themselves that are not able to accept. My thing is that when it becomes a more topic where we're teaching our children and da da da, I don't feel we should teach our children anything sexual, whether it's heterosexual or homosexual, at a young
We
age.
shouldn't, but heterosexuality is extremely represented in
Not in the
children.
classroom. I don't think that it's
Not,
represented in a fifth grade classroom
it
or a third
should.
grade.
No, I mean, like, when I say represented, I mean like cartoons, like, you know what I'm saying, the prince and the princess kissing, like, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Those are all things that kids watch regularly.
Yeah.
No, sexuality absolutely should.
And even when I saw that when I was young, I used to be like, look how they brainwash us. Disney World has been a huge force
Absolutely.
in
That's what I'm saying. Like,
brainwashing women and thinking that they have to have this in
a
order to
prince.
be this kind of way. So I think what's
Yeah.
been happening is that the shadow of what's been happening to society has been taken off, and people are seeing, even in the cartoon, for a regular parent that's heterosexual, she has to be careful her child watching Disney, because look what they tell us. If you're not pretty enough, you can't get kissed by a prince, or if you're not pretty enough, if you're not thin with small. So it's a lot of programming that starts from early,
Yeah.
and we need to look at a broader perspective and not just one.
Yeah, because I think people underestimate how much heterosexuality is pushed off in kids in cartoons. Like, people look at, like, oh, we shouldn't have a gay cartoon character because they think gay cartoon characters mean two men having sex as a cartoon. And not necessarily, like, the cartoon character may have just have two male parents, which a child really in real life may have two male parents, and he just wants to see that, you know, represented in a cartoon. That's all that means.
And that's listen, if they're gonna have that, that is up to the parent and what she wants to play for her child. You understand what I'm saying to you?
Right.
They should have that
because
option, just like
because it's
heterosexual.
taboo, and everybody wants to
I
feel
think
like
that they should have the option as heterosexual and as gay people to choose what their child watch, if that's something comfortable. But I think that it has to be at an appropriate level. And I feel like it's too much going on. It's too explicit. The rated R rates are too much. Even the one that says parent control is too much
it's
for young
true.
children. For
No,
young
seriously.
children.
I mean, now as an adult, when I look back and watch the stuff that I was watching when I was younger, and I see now, like, oh, this show was inappropriate. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of stuff that we watched when we were kids were inappropriate. A lot of stuff was racist. I mean, it's a lot of stuff that
it's a lot of stuff that we got to look at, and like, again,
and it goes
until
back.
we detach from the programming, we'll continue to have these conversations, because the problem is, we were even programmed to believe in God. We were even programmed to believe the God that they choose for us. We were programmed to believe in how to love and how to like. That's why I had, if you go on at the table, I have a topic where I spoke on what is love. It's love a fairy tale, and I spoke on it by stating that most of us don't understand what love is because we're programmed through television to tell us what love is. We got this fairy tale stuff that tells us how, you know, oh, it should be butterfly, it shouldn't, you know, so everybody have their own conception based on programming.
And romance novels.
Yes. So, you know, it all boils down to the individual by talking to their parents and seeing where you are mentally for your child, what's appropriate for your child to watch. So these are conversations that needs to be had.
This is very true, because I mean, sometimes adults aren't even mature enough themselves to properly articulate it to children, let alone to other
it's
adults.
hard. Listen, when it was time for me to talk to my son about sex, you know, I went and got a bunch of herpes pictures, a bunch of syphilis, a bunch of horrible vagina looking pictures, and was like, this is what happened if you touch it.
No, it's so crazy, because I remember in 7th grade when they showed us all those pictures, trying to, like, it's how humans work, trying to deter us from having sex. And I remember everyone in the classroom like, oh, we're not having sex. If this was going to happen, we was having sex in the following year.
You see what I'm saying? But I said to my son, is it too much for you? I remember trying to ask him, you know, how do you feel about girls or guys, whichever you, I'm never going to, because I wanted him to understand that there was no judgment as his mother. I didn't know anything. So I didn't know.
You know, so crazy. People may feel that is inappropriate to have, because
no, you have to, nowadays you have to speak to your children. You have to speak to your children or they'll learn it in the street.
Yep.
You know, they'll learn it in the
you will
street. My
learn it in the
mom, you
streets.
know, old fashioned parents, West Indian. You know what my mother, the day my sex talk was, I think I got my period, and my mother said, "Well, this is exactly how she did it. Well, now you can get pregnant. You get pregnant, you move out." That's our old school.
Gotta take care of your own.
So pretty
Now
much,
you
you
get
know, it
pregnant.
was just telling me that you are able to get pregnant. Be careful with fucking. She didn't go in detail and the vagina. My mom ain't, you know, West Indian, old school. No, they just like, you get pregnant, you get out.
That's
You
true.
are capable of getting pregnant now. That was it. You know, so that was the sex conversation right
I
there.
will say for me, I don't have kids, but I got a lot of nieces and nephews and a lot of friends with kids, and I'm like the cool uncle, you know what I'm saying? So I didn't realize a lot of times how young I was doing stuff until I hear like my niece or nephew or little cousin tell me some stuff, and I'll be like, I can't believe you doing this at this age, and then I
And
had
then
this
you got to
image in
look
my
at your
mind.
own self.
So it's very hard for me to be critical on kids. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to teach you the game. Like, you shouldn't do this. I understand that you may, because, you know what I'm saying? You know, but it's hard for me to bash them. You know what I'm saying? Like,
No, you
that's
can't.
just
You can't
stupid.
bash them. No.
But
I listen.
people
I
will.
started out early, so I'm very thankful that my son respect the mama he got, because he didn't. You know, I thought he was gonna be like his daddy and be Rolling Stone up in here, but he, you know, but you know, my son didn't give me that issue. My son was an athlete that was very involved, so he didn't have time to even play that life if he wanted to. So you know, thank God I didn't have to deal with that type of stuff, you know, at all. But I remember starting out young, and when I think about it now, I'm like, damn, my son did really good, because I was terrible. I was giving the box up at 16 with no problem.
I started at 12. So
You see what I'm talking about?
and what's so crazy is, like, you know, I grew up in the church, you know what I'm saying? What so I thought, like, I literally thought, like, because, you know, my grandma took us to church every day, you know, old school grandma. So in my mind, you know, I listen to everything they say. So I really thought, like, oh, I'm not going to have sex till I get married, until I'm grown. Like, I believe that. Puberty hit at 12. It was all she wrote.
Yeah, like when you listen, the first time I started feeling any type of nothing, you remember that movie Leroy from The Last Dragon? Leroy, when the guy that looked like Busta Rhymes in it, and he's doing all this shit, the
I don't know what The
karate.
Last Dragon is.
No, not the last. It was the movie was called Leroy from The Last Dragon. It's a
Oh,
movie
is
from
this from
back
the
in the
80s?
days. Huh?
Is this from the 80s?
Yes. But your age know this, because my son know about this movie. The
Oh,
other day he asked me about it. And my
I
son
don't.
21. So Leroy from The Last Dragon it was this guy. If you Google it, it was this guy in this movie. I had to be about 14. Bruce Leroy from The Last Dragon. And let me tell you, you couldn't tell me nothing about that fine black man. That was my first night. I closed my eyes and had the wettest dream
Leroy
ever.
Green.
You see it?
Leroy Green.
I think that's it, Green.
1985.
Yes, that movie right there, you couldn't tell me nothing. I go home and I was dreaming like, boy, that's the first time I started liking boys.
Aw.
That's the first time I started liking boys. I started feeling myself like I think I was around 12.
I was worse. I was liking everybody. So,
Seriously, that's the first time you couldn't tell me nothing. I used to be home like, I'm gonna go watch Leroy, press the little record button and leave his face right there and just be daydreaming.
that was
The
VHS.
VCR. You couldn't tell me nothing. He was fine.
So our
He
last
was a
topic.
whole fountain of cookies. Yes, he was. Somebody said he was a whole fountain of cookies. He was fine.
Oh, a fountain cookie. A fortune cookie.
Fortune cookie. Mm-hmm.
So our last topic is say, because it's like, well, it's been a problem for decades, but you know what I'm saying, we're seeing it a lot now still. Just recently with the two guys that raped the young lady during spring break, and just all the things that come out, like with celebrities and sexual assault and rape culture. And it's very important for me that we teach young men and women, because they, you know, they did it in schools. They had the
Yeah.
boys' assembly, the girls' assemblies, and they tell us what's inappropriate and all that things, but it still doesn't resonate enough. You know what I'm saying? Why do you think sexual assault just like is still underreported and still happens so often?
Well, I will speak on this culture for now. And I'll go back to why. Right now, with it happening on a rapid more than ever, these kids are taking pills. These kids are smoking weeds that are made out of all kind of different chemicals, and they're around each other and they're not realizing what they're doing to each other. So I'm not just saying that's the only reason why. I'm not making excuses for them, but these kids are doing drugs on another level right now. I feel the reason why women don't tell and the reason why it goes under the table is because of the embarrassment of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's the embarrassment. A lot of women, you know, when you go through, you put yourself in a predicament and something like that happens to you, it's a part of you that's taken. And it's a part of you that you don't want to reopen with questions and people taking a rape kit on you and asking you, well, why were you there? And then you start questioning yourself if you put yourself in the predicament that you shouldn't have. And it's so much things that go through your head where you're like, but to those women that are dealing with those questions and going through that type of issues, both, you know that you can still speak up. You're not alone. So many women question themselves. A lot of times these young men are not having fathers and uncles and brothers to tell them. When a woman tell you no, it's no. It's
But
no.
also sometimes them grown men don't be,
And these grown
even
men,
when
they
even when
think
they
as a woman is
do,
sexy,
yeah,
you
even
know.
when they do have them, sometimes they don't be passing down good advice either, though. A
No,
lot of
no, they think
times.
that just because a woman is sexy and a woman may be revealing and she may be even intoxicated or she may look like she was going to